Morning, everybody. This is my third attempt at a live stream today. I apologize for the hiccups here and there, but I'm only human, and I won't be converted into one of these machines if we go that way. But so just the news for today. So there are plans for rolling out 5G in Glasgow, and I got this from Mark. There are large 5G MIMO tanks that are being planned for numerous streets, and this is your 5G beamforming technology, densification. Included is an SINR map, which I will put in the description bar, and you can find out more information about that. So this is extremely concerning. And of course, Glasgow is one of the first places that has been designated a smart city. So next up, the US delegation recently presented the UK with new evidence showing security risks posed by the Chinese firm Huawei. Now, Huawei, as we know, came into the news when Theresa May was warned by the United States about Huawei, and that this is now happening again, and President Trump has sought to pressure Boris Johnson on this issue. Now, China is a country, as we know, which has rolled out the social credit system. And the social credit system basically penalizes you based on your behavior. So if you post something that's against the government on social media, you can then be prevented from taking transport, for example, getting on a plane or a train. Could this be extended to buying food? Is that already happening? I don't know, but people are actually now being refused to stay at certain Airbnb accommodations in the United States. And this is the problem. You've got these monopolies like Airbnb, Uber, that are just taking over all these small businesses like the taxis, the hotels. So I really need to emphasize that we need to support local business. We've got to be careful of these global monopolies. And this is something I'm going to come on to in a minute, actually, about globalism. I had a chat with Tanya the other day. I called her up. I said, hey, look, I really want to sort of speak with you about this problem, which is the Stop 5G International website, and my concerns about it, because what's happening here is that you're encouraging people to join a movement, which is global. It's a global website that are now producing these t-shirts, Stop 5G International. What value is that offering to people? How is that stopping 5G? How is a protest going to stop 5G? Well, people will notice it, sure, but how much news penetration is it going to get? Is it going to get the news penetration that Extinction Rebellion protests got? And of course, we know that the media, the police, the government are working in cahoots along with industry with Extinction Rebellion. That is not a grassroots movement, and if it was, then people would be allowed to hold their own events on 5G. And of course, we saw in Plymouth that one of the activists in Extinction Rebellion tried to hold an event there. Headquarters told him that it was to be shut down. So I spoke with Tanya Rebel, who I mentioned in the video yesterday. I called her on the phone and I just said, look, I asked her what her vision was, whether she'd thought of starting up a different website, something that wasn't Stop 5G International, something under a different name. And she said, no, Stop 5G International, that's the site. This was my decision. I think globally and act locally. And of course, this is where the problem is, because if we think globally, we're thinking about global organizations. Is the global approach the right way to take? I believe it's not. I believe the local approach is the way the local ideas. How do we get together locally? We concentrate locally 100%. This is what's happening with people challenging their local town councils. We saw the video Devon residents challenge the council on 5G on my YouTube. There's a lot of progress being made. Councillor Crow, who was the one whose microphone was silenced, who wasn't responding to the questions on 5G, he's now coming to the Barry Trower event at the Exeter Phoenix Theatre on the 3rd of February. So this is really good news. and we're getting a lot of people in Devon. Devon is now the leading county in the UK which is taking action against 5G, and it just really pleases me to hear that, because I remember just under 2 years ago when I got started here in Devon doing the first 5G talk in Devon, which was in Totnes, organised by myself and Jason Neosatos, and we got it going. And he's reporting on 5G constantly. So yeah, I had a chat, and then a subscriber raised something with me that I just wanted to report on. And it was to do with the video that I put out the other day, is the Stop 5G movement being hijacked? And they were referring to 3 minutes 36 seconds into the video, where there's this tree featured. And Tanya Rebel is actually listed, this is the information I got sent to me, on Companies House as a director of a company called Friends of the Umbrella Tree. And they've informed me that if you look up the SIC code on Companies House and then you Google listed activities of, and then type in the number of the SIC code, you get a list of different activities classified under this SIC code, which is 94990. You can just Google this. And this includes National Union of Students, Poetry Club, protest movement activities, recreational organizations, Rotary clubs, Roundtable, Royal Automobile Club, and Zionist organization. So yeah, that's very interesting. So I just think, it's important. All that I say to people is, look deeper, do this investigation. And obviously we've got a few investigative journalists, some of my subscriber base, who like to look into this sort of information. And I just think, this is extremely important. This is extremely important that we look at everything. We just look at the big picture. We don't self-censor. We don't say, okay, no, I'm not going to talk about this. This is uncomfortable. I don't want to harm my relationship with this or that person, but that we look at this information. And I'm happy to have anybody from Extinction Rebellion who wants to come on to say, hey, actually, I've got some problems with Extinction Rebellion, or here's my experience with them. I've left them. Tanya's told me she's left them now, but my concerns still continue just about this connection with the Transition Network. And Transition Network are working with Extinction Rebellion to encourage councils to declare climate emergencies and look into your climate emergencies. Google climate emergency electric cars, climate emergency LED streetlights. It's included in the rollout of documentation to roll out LED streetlights, electric cars. These are key to the 5G grid. So this Extinction Rebellion is a corporation-led movement. It's not a grassroots movement. And I've been reading this quite interesting book recently, just started it. It's called Rules for Radicals. And the author, Jeff Hedgepeth, A Practical Guide for Defeating Obama-Alinsky Tactics. And if we go to page 3, this man, Saul Alinsky, who wrote Rules for Radicals, and it's all about how to encourage people to create radicals in your community, sort of like Extinction Rebellion. So I just thought, wow, this could be quite interesting, find out what's going on. And this is Rules for Radicals Defeated. So it's about how to actually defend yourself against these sorts of individuals. So page 3, Saul David Alinsky is commonly referred to as the father of community organizing. As David Horowitz says, his preferred self-description was rebel, and his entire life was devoted to organizing a revolution in America to destroy a system he regarded as oppressive and unjust. By profession, he was a community organizer, the same term employed by his most famous disciple, Barack Obama, to describe himself. Alinsky's early career was that of a criminal sociologist. His biographer, Sanford Horwitz, paints a picture of a man working for a prison system, but more attuned to the plight of the inmates than to a law-abiding society. he found a kinship with the inmates, and he found himself blaming society for their misfortune rather than blaming the individuals for their own behaviour. Then on page 4, Rules for Radicals was written as a guidebook for radicals. It embodies general principles by which revolution can be accomplished. Just what that revolution's end was to be is never defined by Linsky. Rules for Radicals is looked upon as the Bible of the leftist revolution and counterculture. Now, I don't like to create boundaries here. Hey, create division left and right. We're talking about far leftist here. It contains principles designed to help the would-be radical foment a revolution that is intended to bring down capitalism and usher in a new age of utopian bliss. While these goals are the boilerplate hippie pie-in-the-sky stuff we're all accustomed to, the tactics themselves are quite ingenious, right? So you'll often hear this as demonization of capitalism. Now, what we currently have in the world is something called crony capitalism, where we have more and more things being basically controlled by larger corporations, Airbnb, Amazon, these monster monopolies is what I like to call them. Uber, basically taking over everything, people shopping online, basically just allowing themselves to be slaves to these large corporations. This is crony capitalism. So that's when you have large companies working in cahoots with government. Normal capitalism is where you have small family businesses. I support small family businesses, but this is very alarming. And this is what you'll get. We've got to create a revolution. We've got to destroy capitalism. We've got to set up citizens' assemblies. How are they democratically accountable? They're not. Basically, Extinction Rebellion want to create global communism, and this is the threat we face. And I think a book like this can be extremely valuable in just educating yourself about these techniques and about what these movements are about. So I'd just like to provide some more information to you here. And that is that there's a London event coming up this Saturday. Mark Steele and I are speaking. This will be on Friday, the 24th of January, between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. I'll be speaking for an hour. Mark will be speaking for an hour about the latest technicalities about 5G. You can come and question him. If you think he's not an expert, if you have a disagreement with him, come along and ask a question. It's completely open to the audience. There'll be an hour for Q&A at the end. It's just £5 to cover the hall costs, and we have 300 capacity in there. So do come along. If you have friends in the southeast or in London, please let them know. The full details here. Friday the 24th, 7 to 10 p.m, AMP Studios, 8978 Old Kent Road, London, SE15 1NL, Queens Road, Peckham is the nearest tube station, Queens Road, Peckham. So Mark and I will also be at the Saturday protest event, and we'll be meeting there. I think it's around 11 a.m. Marble Arch Corner or Marble Arch. If you go to the London Stop 5G Facebook page, it'll be on there. I'll actually post the location on my website 5gawareness.com, where the Mark Steele event on the 24th is also featured on there. Now, Mark and I have decided to go along because we want to counter any sort of narrative that's going to try and take over on that day, because you've seen with Occupy, these movements, the Iraq war resistance movement, while they were good movements, you had them co-opted and taken over, and then all of a sudden someone's up there on stage or someone's speaking about climate change, trying to control the narrative. As we know, the climate's always been changing, but these fake greens will always try and just convince you otherwise and say, oh, it's all due to man-made. What about 1,000 years ago? We had the medieval warming period when we had vineyards in Scotland. We didn't have cars then. So what about that? What about the CO2 emissions from volcanoes? What about CO2 as something that's vital for plant growth? Photosynthesis. You need sunlight, you need water, you need CO2. So the CO2 agenda, any website that's pushing ecocide, any website that's pushing the global warming agenda, this earth protector, fake green, is basically promoting eugenics, because that's what it's all about. This is what the fake green movement's all about. It's to promote a eugenics agenda, a depopulation agenda, and all of this technology. It's all business, sadly. You know, all of the technology, the smart meters, the LED streetlights, electric cars, oh, they're great. They're going to reduce our carbon footprint. Everything living breathes out carbon. We are carbon-based beings. We all breathe out carbon dioxide. So if you have zero net CO2, you have zero biological life, because they can't breathe out. There's nothing to breathe out carbon dioxide. So let's do the research. YouTube, The Global Warming Swindle. Great documentary. It's an hour and a quarter. Invite your friends and family around. Watch it with them. There's also David Ubine, Adapt 2030. He's got a lot of good videos explaining what's really going on with the temperature and with food as well, which is also very important. So thank you for listening. Hope you have a great day.